Let's start that again. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hi, my name's Arsh Ellahi, and I'm delighted to be here tonight with a very good friend and business colleague of mine to the name of Neil Ward. Neil, are you with us?
Yeah, I've got you, Ash. Good evening, everybody.
Fantastic. Okay, guys, we've got a fantastic evening lined up for you tonight. And what we're going to do, we're going to keep it exactly to 60 minutes. Now, we know that previously we've gone off on a bit of a tangent, but tonight is pure about content, content, content. High energy content. And hopefully from here, you're going to have a lot of information and more importantly, a call to action. Okay, so we're going to be talking about how rent to rent can be a fantastic strategy to allow you to leave your job and generate £5,000 a month in property income and how you can do it within 6 months. Okay, so we're going to give you some live examples tonight as well, just so that I know that we can hear you. Can you tell us in the far right hand side of your box that on your screen whether you can hear us loud and clear? Now, someone's, yeah, okay, so far everyone's said that they can hear us. Fantastic. Yeah, loud and clear. Brilliant. Okay, let's get moving forward. I'm not going to talk about too much about myself tonight. So I run a group of 12 property companies with my brother Akila here. Together we're landlords and letting agents. Been letting property since 1973 and we've got well in excess of 500 tenants now, majority of which are on benefits, which may scare some of you, but we've got lots of systems in place. I've got a very high 100% rent collection record and a very high 98% occupancy rate. I'm very privileged to be able to be called a published author as well as a columnist for YPN magazine. Here's one of the articles I thought it was quite fitting to talk about rent to rent. I've talked about some of the examples and how you can make quite a large amount of cash flow from such a strategy without owning the property, and we'll talk about that later on. Now, that's enough about me. Neil, can you briefly tell us a little bit about who you are, what you've done, and why people should be listening to you?
Okay, Ash. Yeah, great. I'll just say on that article, I thought it was quite interesting. I don't think it had enough emphasis on some of those properties that you actually took on in excess of £2,000 cash flow a month as a rent to rent, and that is impressive to be able to do that. So I'll talk a little bit about myself. I actually became a landlord 10 years ago, so a decade ago now, in May of 2005, when I bought my first single let property. I'm not really too sure how it happened. I was watching Sarah Beanie on TV, Property Ladder, one of those shows, and I got really inspired by it and just went out, looked around, and found a property that was just down the road, around the corner from my house. So I went in and paid full asking price, and it was a real shell inside. It was a right mess. So that was my first lesson in property, really, spending way too much. And I was just kicking myself today, which is funny because on a rent to rent we're doing, we just bought the bathroom suite, £150 for a full suite, and it's £150 to install it, so £300. And when I look back on the fact that 10 years ago I paid 500 for the suite, which was a basic suite, and £1,700 to have it fitted, it really made me cringe today, knowing how much I used to get ripped off back in those days. So I've done that for quite a while now. I've been a landlord, mainly single let, until I went into the rent-to-rent arena, and that's when I really took on the multi-lets and went for larger properties, mainly HMOs and licensed, but now I do have some licensed HMOs, which is a completely different ball game, more profitable, but also a lot harder to do. So we'll talk about those later as well. I think most people know me for one of two things. They either know me as an entrepreneur, where I was the entrepreneur in residence for Coventry University. I did a lot of consulting from that side of things as well. So that's my main basis on entrepreneurial things, and also a sales trainer and speaker. So I speak all over the world about sales training, anything from entrepreneurs, famous entrepreneurs, right up to Fortune 500 companies. And that is really my forte. I developed quite a unique style of selling in that it's nothing like the old school windows and doors salesman, aggressive. It's a very, I call it relationship selling. So it's a way to sell pretty much every time by building a relationship with someone and catering your pitch to their needs. So that's the main thing I like to do. I also do consultancy in marketing, which is a real bonus for our sort of course attendees, because they get all of my mind maps, all of my marketing plans, so they love it really. And rent to rent, we're going to talk about a lot today. But I started this only the 1st of May last year, which is crazy. And within the first few months, I generated £5,000. Within the first year, I was on about £11,000. And goodness, I've not even checked the records recently what we're up to now, but it's a lot of money. That's net profit. The other thing I do with Arsh is the deal sourcing course. We run a very successful deal sourcing course. We've had a lot of successful students as well out of that now. And like Arsh, I've authored books, and I'm a director of the Forward Thinking Group. Haven't got 12 companies, but I have got 6 property companies. So that's a little bit about me, and I'll hand over to Arsh again.
Okay, so I'll tell you what, Neil, actually, before we go any further, why don't you tell us about this? Your commitment to everyone online, about your commitment and what you think education brings.
Okay, yeah, great. The thing I always say, whenever before I even do a webinar or coaching session or training session, is a lot of the time people, they're so focused on money, money, money. They want the money. But actually, you've got to think about what it is you want the money for, because sometimes people swap one job for another at times to get more money. And really, it's all about education. When we really go down to the core of what you want the money for, is to actually generate happiness within your life. So whether that's having a better health, stronger family or relationships, more time, more travel and leisure. That's really, if you look at the core of why you want more money, it was probably in one of those areas. There might be a couple more areas, but that's usually the main thing that you're aiming for. And all this can be achieved through rent to rent very easily and very quickly as well. What I say very easily, the initial setup it takes a bit of work. It does. We're not going to beat around the bush about it. When you first set up your rent-to-rent business, it does take some work. But then once it's set up and systemized, and you've taken on your employee or whoever you're going to run it for you, then it's plain sailing. It's very simple. You can go to Europe like I did last month for the month, get back, and your bank account has gone up massively, and you didn't do a thing of work. So really, it's all about educating yourself. The more you educate yourself in property, and most things in life, if it's personal development wise and success related, the more happy you'll become and the more income you'll generate. Because really, if you look at those things that are on screen there isn't much that's more important than that. Your health, your families and relationship. That's really, for me, through all of the clients and people that I've worked with, that's really what it's come down to. It's mainly about the family. I don't think there's anything greater than that. So thanks for that, Arsh.
No problem. Right, okay, just so that we know who we've got online and how we can help you this evening, I want to know exactly who we've got. So are you completely new to property? Are you a seasoned investor? Are you completely new to rent? Tell me who we've got online. And what we'll do, we'll start looking at, and then we can try and cater this webinar according to where your skill set is. Okay, a few people saying automatically straight away is that they're completely new to property, which is not a problem. New to rent, have done one course. New to rent, have a couple of multi-lets. Okay, so a lot of people are new to rent. Some people are new to property, which is an issue. One person's put they've already got a few rent-to-rents. One person's a full-time landlord at 8 years. Okay.
Wow, good diversity online.
Want to look at rent-to-rent, new to rent-to-rent as well, new to rent-to-rent. I've done rent-to-buy, a bit of knowledge on rent-to-rent, but not actioned it yet. Okay, interesting. Right, so we've got a lot of new to rent-to-rent people online, Neil. Now,
which is
sorry. Sorry, Neil, what were you going to say?
I'm saying that's perfect, Ash, because that's the way that we've designed this webinar. We've put a good 10 hours between us into this tonight. So we've really designed it for the new people or for the landlords who've been doing it a while, but maybe you're not getting that cash flow. If you're doing single lets, maybe you're getting a couple hundred or a few hundred a month if you're lucky. Whereas we're going to show you how to get between 600 and 2,000 cash flow a month without having to put all the deposits down. So okay, I'll hand back over, Ash.
Okay. So what we're going to do from scratch, we're going
Ash, can you go back a slide? I'm
Sorry.
just going to that. This is really important for everybody to hear these statistics because according to the insurance industry, of every 100 people that reach 65 years old, only 1 will be rich. Only 4 will be wealthy. And look at this. 15% will have a little bit of money put aside. That's all. I mean, that's not living lavishly. They've got some money put aside for a rainy day. 80% of all of those people will be broke. I mean, broke, living off pension or the state. And that's really what we don't want for all of our friends and our students and the people that do business with us. We don't want to see that, those 80 to 95% having no money. So that's that. Just some stats for you to be aware of. Okay, Ash, I'll let you carry on.
Okay, so like I said, they're really important stats because you've got to get yourself in the mindset now. Where do you want to be? And remember, a lot of you said that you're completely new to rent. You want to be. One person put here, I want to be rich. Okay, fantastic. Now, let's start from the complete basics. What is rent to rent? Now, rent to rent. If you go to quite a few the people training rent to rent, some of them are actually teaching it completely incorrect, or as I would say, not according to the book. Now, in a nutshell, this is what rent to rent entails. 3 people involved. You've got the landlord who actually owns a property, who it's his bricks and mortar, and will always remain his bricks and mortar. Now, there's you in the center, who's the entrepreneur, who has seen an opportunity, and you're going to hopefully approach the landlord. Now, the third person involved is a tenant who's hopefully going to be renting the property off you. So here's how it works in very simple terms. You approach the landlord with your proposition that you actually want to rent the property off them, or you want to manage the property on their behalf. Then you may have to do a bit of work to enable the property to be multi-let. So it could be fire doors, it could be furnishings, and we'll go through some of this in a short while. And then the final stage is that after preparing the property, get it ready, you rent the property out by the room for a lot more than you're paying the landlord. And hopefully that will generate you, well, not hopefully, if you've done your calculations correct, it will generate you profit. Now, here's the best way of describing it. So let's just imagine that on a single let property, you're previously renting it out for $850 a month. Now, that's great, and with all due respect, there's nothing wrong with single let properties. They tug along slowly but surely, and you make a couple £100 cash flow a month, and it's great. But what happens when this family or this single let becomes vacant? You've now got a void. You've now got an issue where you're still having to pay the mortgage every month, and regardless whether it's occupied or not, you've still got outgoing. So you may have to pay council tax, you may have to pay your mortgage, and that could wipe out your profit for the whole year. Now, why I really like HMOs is because let's just use this house as an example, which was a single let. It may have 4 bedrooms on the first floor, a living room, dining room, kitchen, and bathroom on the ground. If you were to multi-let the property and turn it into a HMO, potentially you could rent out 5 of the rooms. So you could rent out the 4 bedrooms on the first floor and 1 of the rooms on the ground floor, because you only need, in essence, 1 communal room plus the kitchen and bathroom. So if you rented out each room, let's just say on average of £400 a month, that could give you a rental income of £2,000 a month, as opposed to the $850 that you were generating from a single let. Now, that doesn't mean that your profit's going to be £2,000 a month. We've got to take out some costs. So let's pay the landlord his rent. because he's going to be expecting that because you're renting his property off him. So let's say that we've agreed 850. So that's gone. So that leaves us with 1,150. Now, as a HMO landlord, most HMOs will operate something called an all bills inclusive model, which means that the tenants will live in each of their rooms, and you will, whilst they're paying the rent, £400, that will include council tax, water rates, electricity, gas, potentially broadband, and also a cleaner. And that can tally up to anywhere between £350 and £400 a month on average. So let's just use for this example £350, taking into consideration that you're going to be self-managing whilst you're getting started, and that you're going to be doing a fantastic job that is going to be fully occupied. That will leave you with a cash flow of £800 a month. Now, off that one property, if you calculate that £800 a month cash flow over a year, that's going to produce you £9,600. Now, where else can you get cash flow from a property that you don't own and you've got no intention of owning, but more importantly, you're making cash from it, the best part of 10 grand a year? It's highly unlikely that you'll find this anywhere else. And this is why people are flooding into the rent-to-rent market, because it's so easy to get into. And the reason why it really works is because there is no mortgage. No, when you go and buy a buy-to-let or single let, you have to then go off and get a mortgage, require 25% deposit. You have to instruct solicitors, and then you have to worry about valuers, making sure that they don't value the property. In rent-to-rent, that does not exist. It's very simple negotiation between you and the landlord. You make sure it works on all your terms. You make sure the landlord's happy. I took a property on this week, believe it or not, and this is absolutely crazy, that I took a property off a landlord. Landlord lives in London. His property is in Wolverhampton. He's got a 3-bed, semi-detached property, and we're paying him £275 a month for the next 7 years. Yeah, that's right. £275 a month for the next 7 years. I'm going to turn it into a 5-bed multi-let, a 4/5-bed multi-let, and that's going to produce quite a handsome profit or cash flow per month. My costs are going to be £275 for the landlord, £350 for the utility costs. So that's £625. But now, if I've got 4 rooms, I'm going to be producing £1,600, which means that I'm going to have a cash flow of just short of £1,000 a month. Where else can you get that? So the key to it is you determine the terms of the agreement. You meet the landlord today, you collect the keys off the landlord today. There isn't, we have to go through the whole legal process, 56 days. It doesn't work like that. You meet the landlord, you get in front of the landlord, and this is what me and Neil specialise in. We don't specialise in going to letting agents because, to be perfectly frank and honest, letting agents break deals. And the reason I know that, I'm also a letting agent. I'm a franchisor of a letting agency. And I know that if someone came to me with an opportunity saying, I want to rent the property off for 7 years, naturally, as a business person, as a letting agency owner, I would want to walk away from it. Purely because I know that I'm going to be losing business, because now the communication will become between you and the landlord. There is no need for a letting agent anymore. So I'll be talking myself out of business if I gave it you. So that's why I understand both sides of the business. It's best to be in contact with the landlord. So hopefully that's give you a bite-sized introduction into rent-to-rent. Now I'm just going to have a quick look. Is there any questions before we move forward?
Relevant questions.
Relevant questions, yeah. So someone's asking about subletting, but we'll cover that a little later on if that's okay, Annette. Okay.
Yeah.
So someone's
Yeah.
asked, does it have to be a minimum room of 4 or 5? Well, now, just so that you know, when you do your calculations, you've got to make sure. With this property that I've taken on in Wolverhampton, I can afford to run it as a 4-bed just because we've negotiated so well on the rent level. Now, if I was paying in £400 or £500 a month, it may not work as a 4 bed, so I would need it to be a 5 bed. So it's really important that you get your head around the numbers, making sure you understand what your break-even point is, which is real key. Okay, Neil, now over to you. So we've got a few other
Okay,
questions. Someone's said,
great.
what are the pitfalls? But we'll cover what the pitfalls are because no strategy is without its pitfalls.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
I am going to quickly cover the question. Was it from Annette regarding subletting?
yeah,
Now, I love it when this question comes up all the time, because most times when you ask about subletting and things, people just sort of close off, or even the people who are experts at it, they just ignore the question. But actually, anyone who knows how to do this properly knows how it's not subletting and knows how simple this is. The agreement that Arsh and I have had made, which we spent thousands of pounds on, has been through dozens of solicitors now. It clearly shows that our agreement is a management agreement. That's why Arsh was saying at the beginning, you've got to get the right agreement. Most people have rent-to-rent agreements, and they breach mortgage lenders' terms and conditions. However, what Arsh and I use, we combined our knowledge, Arsh's letting agent knowledge, and mine in property management, to create an agreement that basically states, in a nutshell, what we are doing, Mr. Landlord, is acting as the manager for you. So we're just like a letting agent. The only difference is we're going to keep the profits that we make. You're going to get a set fee every month, set rent every month, and we keep any profits. But the ASTs that we issue, which is the tenancy agreement to the tenant, go in the name of the company. So, for example, my company is Forward Thinking Lettings and also has the landlord's name on there. So Forward Thinking Lettings and Mr. Mike Smith, or whoever the name is. So there's no difference between them going through a letting agent or them doing it through you. So I hope that answers the question, because I think it's a question that's completely avoided by everybody when it shouldn't be, if you've got the right agreement, which is the key. So how you can repeat our results, 5 months to 5K. The reason I've called it that, you'll have noticed at the beginning it said 6 months to 5K, is because the first month is training and it's learning the strategy and it's selecting your gold mine area, it's getting your head into the tenant group. So the first month is going to be your study and research and attending the course and things like that. Then the following 5 months is where you're going to actually generate the income. And it's very easy to get to 5K in 5 months. This is going to be very conservative, just to show you how easy it is to get there. I did it having no experience on rent to rent. I just figured it out for myself. So if I was to do it again today, starting today, I could get to 5K within 3 weeks, 4 weeks, for example. So I'll show you how we're going to do it. Next slide, Ash. So here's step one. So hopefully you've all got notepad and paper, because this isn't just going to be a webinar talking. This is actually content. So please get your notepads and paper out. So step one is going to be finding your gold mine area. One person came on our course and had this. That is why we've put a joke here of the two formulas. Had this super complex formula for finding the gold mine area. And Arsh and I both looked over it and we said, what on earth is this nonsense? You don't need to do this, you don't need to do that. If you were to follow that formula, you're just going to tie yourself up and you'll never take on a house, because the parameters are never going to be perfect. And the guy said, that's exactly what's happened in the last 2 years. I've not taken a house on because I couldn't get the formula right. So this is what I'm going to show you. It's a really simple formula. There's 7 steps to it, and we've got 5 of them down in the bottom icon. So the first part of your finding your gold mine area is to actually select the right tenant group. Now the tenant group is an hour and a half of Arsh and I sort of teaching that in itself. So there's a lot of different tenant groups, from workers to professionals to students to LHA, things like that. And there's benefits of each one. So you've got to know which group is right for you. Another part is to actually look at the cities that you're going to invest in. And looking at the cities and the areas or the towns, they come into the formula below. So all these work in conjunction with each other. Looking at Google Maps, making sure the area is right, making sure the facilities are right, that you've got all the key facilities that you need near that house that the tenants are looking for. And this is the knowledge that you won't have right now. And this is the knowledge that Arsh and I will share with you, because this is built up over years and years of experience, knowing exactly what each tenant group likes and needs, and what others don't want and need. It's absolutely crucial for getting the cash flow right. Rightmove is the middle icon, rightmove.co.uk. That is an online property website, and that's where you're going to find a lot of your houses. Now, the interesting thing is, it's going to give you, there's two things. One, it's going to tell you what the rents are for that area. So high, low, average rents. And you're going to be able to look at the quality of the houses through the photos and get an idea of the costings of it. Your next step is with spareroom.co.uk, and that's where you're going to analyze through the spare room comparison charts the different costings and values of rooms in your area. And the interesting thing is, when I selected my area, my city of Coventry, on paper it didn't work, and everyone said it doesn't work, don't do it there. But I knew, I had an inkling that Coventry was going to work for me, despite what everyone was saying. So I went for it, and we've just gone from growth to growth to growth. Any new tenants looking for houses, they usually, I'd say 80% will end up looking at one of our rooms or actually contacting us, because our marketing is so tight now. And we'll show you all of this. So these things all work in conjunction with one another. But you've got to understand what you're looking for on the maps. You've got to understand the different tenant groups. You've got to understand what you're looking for on Rightmove. And again, the second interesting thing is, you're not going to go through the agent that's on Rightmove, which most people think you do. And that's why a lot of people fail at rent to rent, because they're going through the agents, and it's the wrong way to do it. So that's step one, is finding your gold mine area. Arsh, next slide, please. Okay, so this is crucial. Step two is calculating the numbers, the actual figures. So that's what Arsh gave you the example of before. It's the income from all the rooms combined, for example, £2,000, minus your costs. So that's all of your utilities, council tax if you're not doing students, gas, electric, water, broadband, cleaner, etc. These costs usually come to about £300 to £350 per month on average. Sometimes it can be a little bit more, up to £400. So if you deduct, the actual costs plus the landlord costs from the income you're getting from the rooms, that's what you're left with your profit. So it could be, for example, £2,000 property, 600 to the landlord gives you 1,400, 400 in bills leaves you with £1,000 of profit. So that's how you work it out, £1,000 profit per property. There's a little bit more to it than that, but it really is calculating the numbers. You can't really do this until you know how to do step one correctly. I've seen so many different ways people teach step one, and most of them are not accurate, because a lot of people that come on the trainings, and I know some people have said on the webinar already, you've already done trainings. A lot of people that come on, they're doing the wrong formula, they're doing it in the wrong order, they haven't been taught properly how to find these properties. So that's what we actually show you, the right formula. Only then you can calculate the numbers. Step three, please, Arsh. Okay, this is the important bit that most courses miss out. It's actually sourcing the rent-to-rent deals. And the reason it's usually missed out is because most people don't know how to do it. They'll teach you to go to letting agents. And that, I know it's a bit of a controversial topic, and I always put my neck on the line saying this, because I'm up against 20 other people that say letting agents is the only way. But I don't agree with it. I don't think going through letting agents is the way to source rent-to-rent deals. And I'm not saying that of a point of that's just what I think and I'm guessing. Everything I ever will say to other people or teach, I'll have tested that myself first. Everything. I'll never teach anything that I haven't tested and proven to be true for me. So for example, you can see here all these images. This is just a part of the trainings and what we teach you, how to actually source different properties. And Arsh and I, we actually source more properties than we could ever take on in a lifetime. This week alone, I've had, I think, 8 or 9 come to me. I can't do any of them, not a single one. Actually, one of them that came to me last week, I still couldn't do it. But the landlord, just like Arsh said, he said to me, I'll take £460 a month. And the property will rent for around 1,800. All he wants, £460 a month, because he's, and this is usually a question that's in most people's minds, such as yourself listening to this, why would a landlord do this sort of a deal? Why wouldn't they do it themselves? The reason is most landlords don't have the experience. They don't want to. A lot of them are very lazy. If you go to their properties, they'll be quite run down. We did one this week, refurb. It was a 4-day turnaround, and that was everything. It was complete. It had never been cleaned. The grease was so thick that we actually had to use a wallpaper scraper to take it off the walls in the kitchen. It was that bad. Bathroom was black. You could hardly see anything. Black mold. We had to strip all of that. And new carpets. A lot of the floorboards had to be replaced. We completely renovated the whole thing. Landlord paid for it, so that was all done. Landlord paid for all of that, and it cost us around about £600 for that entire refurbishment. And that property is going to make us a lot of money every single month. And sourcing the property is where a lot of people struggle. There's 2 parts where most people struggle. One is sourcing the deals, which for me is very simple because I do marketing as a consultancy, so it's very easy for me. And the other part is negotiations, which we're going to talk about shortly, because this is absolutely paramount. You cannot succeed effectively in property without understanding how to negotiate the basics of it. But we actually cover all of that, really simple strategy, so you'll have that as well. But as you can see in the middle there, it says go direct. That's all we teach you. Go direct. Well, we will never tell you to go to letting agents, purely because of the costs. You're going to pay at least £500 for each one they give you, if not £1,000. You've got deposits, you've got all sorts of other things. They make you jump through so many hoops. I don't want to be spending £2,000 just to get a property on the books and then doing a refurbishment. I want to be getting that property for free, or £2 or £3 through writing a letter, or a tradesman brings me one, I'm giving him £100 or £200 cash, or I drop a leaflet or an advert, whatever it is. The mind map that we've got for marketing and sourcing is huge. People always laugh at it because they say you couldn't do this entire mind map in 2 years, and it's true. You'll actually get that mind map for sourcing. So that's step 3. You've got to understand how to source the deals, not through letting agents, directly through yourself. Step
Neil,
4, please.
Neil,
Yeah,
do you know where I got this one from this week?
go
I
on.
actually got it from it's a referral from one of my other rent-to-rent landlords. So he's so chuffed with the fact that
Yeah,
he's completely hands off. He's referred me to his friends.
yeah. Do you know what, Arsh? That one I just mentioned, the £460 one, that was exactly the same. It was a referral through another landlord. Because here's the thing, they will love what you do so much that they'll tell everybody about it. And before you know it, you're getting calls every single day from people. A lot of them, look, I'll be straight, a lot of them aren't calling you to just say, here's the keys, take them. A lot of them is saying, I spoke to this person, they told me what you did for them, and I'd like to speak to you to find out what you could do for me. They'll never just come out and hand you the keys, but they will want to talk to you. And it's referrals are the most effective way you can do this.
I
Anything to
agree.
add, Arthur? Ready for
No,
step
I
4?
agree with that. Okay, let's keep moving.
Okay, step 4 is your marketing and negotiation skills. But luckily, you have got myself on the line, so you can ask me any questions as we go towards the end, because this is my forte. I fly all around the world teaching this and building marketing plans and teaching sales formulas. And it's very straightforward once you understand the basics. But usually, if we apply Pareto's law, the 80-20 principle here, you will find that 20% of the marketing you do brings in 80% of your deals, your leads, your conversions. And it was no truer for me. When I first started, it was letter writing that brought in all of the houses very quickly. Now it's all referrals. In the middle, it was a lot of newspaper advertising. So it really varies. It really does. And on my other company, for example, my property sourcing company, it's my car wrap. So I've got my car wrapped. That brings in a lot of leads. So it really varies. And the key with good marketing is you've got to test. We'll show you a lot of statistics and the results that we've got through our marketing, and we'll recommend you try those things first. But really, it's different for every area, and you may even find something that's a lot more effective than what we've got. So that's the beauty of the group, of the mastermind. And of course, negotiations, we don't need to say too much on that, because that's second nature to me. It's what I do day in and day out. So we actually teach a really simple step-by-step model on the negotiation side. So the reason you need these two skills, and they're missed on the other courses, is because even if you've got everything perfect and you're a genius at marketing, at finding the right houses and doing all the figures and knowing how much the refurb's going to cost to the penny, how are you going to actually market and get that property away from the letting agents? How are you going to reach out and let people know that you're there? Because the problem for most people isn't that they're getting too many houses, it's that they're not getting enough houses because people don't know they exist. And it's no truer than in our industry. You see people all the time handing out these cards. We pay £1,000 on the back. And I always say to them, what sort of marketing are you actually doing? And they say, well, I attend a lot of networking meetings and I hand out these cards. And that's great. But a lot of time, if you're attending the property meetings, there's similar people to you there. They're doing the same thing as you. So you've got to reach out to the general public. The property meetings aren't your market. Your marketplace is the general public. It's the man that works at B&Q. It's the accountant down the road. It's those people who have got houses and they don't really want to deal with them. They might do the odd bit of DIY here and there, but they're not savvy investors. They don't want to be savvy investors. So how are you going to reach out to those people? That's what you've got to think about. If you don't understand marketing and you haven't got your mind maps already, it's going to be very difficult. The next thing about this is once you've actually gone to see that person, if you don't understand the basic step-by-step sales system or negotiation skills, you're going to struggle again because they're going to give you objections and you're not going to know how to answer those objections. So that's why me and Arsh have actually, within the course that we do, we've actually put all the objections in. And Arsh is quite amusingly now, he's got a thing going on every course where he gets everyone together, I'm on the stage, and he'll get the hardest negotiator in the room to come up and sit there with me, and my goal is to negotiate and get their property. And they've been told everything under the sun, you can't do this, you can't, and at the end of it, we still get a deal because it's the simple step-by-step formula we're going to teach you. So if you haven't got those two skills, you're going to struggle. And I think that's really where mine and Arsh's USP, our unique selling point, is that we do teach this and we do have direct experience marketing and negotiations. We're not just somebody teaching sales and negotiations who hasn't got the background in it. So let's go on to the next part, Arsh. Okay, step 5. This is your winter period in a way. Now, step 5 is where you've took on some houses, so you've got up to a good cash flow. Let's say you're up to your 5,000 at the first few months. This is where you pause. This is where you reflect on what you've done, where you refine the systems, what houses have worked, what maybe haven't worked as well, what tenant groups worked, what sort of decor in the rooms has worked, what property is cash flowing, there's so much you've got to look at. You've got to refine, and then you've got to look at your systems. How are my accounting systems? How are my bookkeeping systems? How are, you've got to go through everything, my calendars, or the tenant payments. You've got to look at all these things. Utility bills. Is the company I'm using for my utilities efficient? Is it not efficient? Is it good cost? And then once you've done that and you've refined everything, you've reflected, that's when you go for it, and you go for massive growth. It's a bit like Arsh said, where he's got a franchise. Arsh didn't take his franchise and just go, right, I've got this agency now, I've been doing it for a few months, I'm going to franchise it. What Arsh did was he developed this agency, he made sure it was ironclad and it was perfect and running beautifully. Then he franchised it out. And it's a similar concept with what you're doing with your rent-to-rent. Once you know the properties that work the best and where the huge demand is, that's where you really go for it. And to share a story on this, because every day is a learning day, even for me. My main tenant group is professionals. So I charge very, very high rents for my rooms and make very good money from it. I'm meeting a good demand though, and there's a very real demand for what I do. A lot of other people have tried where I am and they failed, and they call me trying to offload their properties to me. But here's the interesting thing. I'd never done students or workers before. Never. It wasn't really a market I wanted to do. But because I had so many houses come in, and you will max out the tenants available. There's not a million tenants looking for a room at any one time. There's a certain amount. So I noticed that there's a lot of students looking. I noticed there was a lot of workers looking, mainly Eastern European workers and people like that who didn't want high-end rooms. They just wanted somewhere to sleep because they're exhausted after a day's work, and go out and enjoy themselves on the weekend. And I started in that marketplace, and I thought I'd just test one, and all the rooms were gone the same day. Every single room the same day gone, and I was still making £700 on that property per month. So now we're expanding, we're taking on a lot, and we cannot meet demand. We've already got 45 people on the waiting list for a room. And students was the same. Right now is the peak time for students. When we looked around, 100 agencies doing students in the city. Everyone was doing all this marketing and advertising, and I said to my guys, you know what, I don't really want to compete with all these agents, there's just too much. And we had a chat about it, and we said, you know what, let's just take one property on, because it didn't need any work doing. It was £50 for what we need to do to it. I said, let's test it. If it doesn't work, we can hand back the keys to the landlord. He's happy to do that. So we went for it, and student rooms, single rooms, they went straight away. Now we've been ramping it up. We can't take the houses on fast enough. They're just full with students. If you're in an area where you've got universities, what you'll find is a lot of people focus on filling the whole house under one AST. And that's difficult to do. But if you go with a landlord and their mortgage is the suitable product where it can be let out by the room, then you'll just find that you can't take enough houses on. The students will just fill every single room so quickly. Especially clearing is going on right now. And clearing is where students have applied for a university placement and they've just now been accepted. They won't know a group. They won't be able to get into a group house. They need just a room for the first year. So this is where you're going to make the big money when you're taking all these houses on. So that's step 5. You pause, you reflect, you refine the systems, and then you go for massive growth. Okay, next slide, Arsh. Okay, so let's look at it in a real life scenario. These are a few houses that I've taken on recently. What we got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 there. So I'm going to give you a real life example. So you can see the date that says 1st of September 2015. Now the reason I've put those dates, future dates, is because that's 5 or 6 months out. If you come on the training that we're doing at the end of August and you're really keen, you start straight away. And even if you just hit the lowest amount per property, so you take on one of these properties, for example, and it's only making £600 a month profit. That's it, just very, very low profit per month. And let's say you either do what I do, where you don't really spend a lot, or you spend, up to £600 on a refurbishment. But let's even say you go right up to £1,000 to £2,000. Your break-even point, if you average 1,200 a property, is still only 2 months. So you're making your money back within 2 months. So if you're hitting that, 6 houses, £600, 12 up to £1,200, you're going to make you £5,500 very quickly, 5 months. Now, if you were to source all 6 properties and you use the strategies that Arsh and I teach you, it's going to cost you less than £10 a house to source. Less than £10 a house. If you go to an agent, it's going to be £1,000 a house. They might, give you the house for 500, possibly if you're lucky. But when you add on everything else and the deposits and all the fees and all them referencing you and doing all your credit checks and all the other stuff, you're going to be way in excess of £6,000. Way in excess of that. Arsh, is that about right?
Yes, completely.
So that's it. £50 is. I mean, I worked out how much it cost me to get the last 4 houses, and it was £12. That was all it was. £12 for the last 4 houses that I got. So it is pretty crazy. When I look back on how I started all of this, if I knew what I knew then, what I know now, I'd be so much further ahead. And I think, Arsh, that's why our students have been so successful compared to a lot of others, because we've actually taught them all of the mistakes we made and then all the learnings that we've made. And I think that's why they've gone on to such success, which we'll talk about them anyway in a second. But that's, if you go to the next slide, Arsh, let's see what we got. Okay, do you want to talk on return on investment, Arsh, just to give people an idea of what they can make?
I'd rather not, but yeah.
Go on.
Okay, so let's have a look at a typical rent-to-rent deal, which is conservative figures. Right. When you take on a rent-to-rent, there may be an initial investment of £2,000, which could be a light refurbishment, which could be, as you've seen in some of Neil's pictures, new beds, new furniture, a deep clean, and getting the property ready for letting. Now, the profit per calendar month, which is after all the costs are deducted, is £600, which gives you an annual profit over the year of £7,200 net. Now, when you work on the basis of the profit that you've generated divided by the actual investment that you put into the property, it gives you a calculation of 3.6, or if you calculate that into a percentage, 360% return on investment. Now, is there anyone in the room that doesn't understand that basic calculation? It's very simple, working on the basis that you're getting £600 net per calendar month after all the costs. Times that by your 12 months, giving you an annual profit of 7,200. And then if you divide that by your initial investment, it's giving you a 360% return on investment. There's nothing else that I know of that would give you that level of return. Now, if you take that further, over a 3-year contract, it's going to triple, obviously. But more importantly, the beauty of it is you control the asset as opposed to owning the asset. And the difference between the two is the difference of going off and getting a mortgage, dealing with solicitors, dealing with building surveyors, and more importantly, the capital that you put into the property. On a rent to rent, remember we said that we put a capital invested at £2,000, whereas if you own it, on average of a £100,000 purchase, you may have to put in 25,000, or if the property's £200,000, you're gonna have to put in a deposit of 50,000, which is equivalent to 25% of the purchase price. And that will only give you a return of between 5 and 12% a year. So now calculate it. Where would the smart investor go? Smart investors put low cash in, high cash out. And that's why, to be fair, it's a fantastic model. It's low cost in, high cash out. So make a note of that. And here's one of the most successful guys on the planet. And as Neil says, sometimes to be the best, you've got to emulate the best. And Nelson Rockefeller believes that the secret to success is to own nothing, but to control everything. Why do you think there are thousands of letting agents up and down the country? Now, we haven't reinvented the wheel. There's so many letting agents. It's just purely because there's so much money to be made from letting properties. They don't own the property. All they do is they control it and manage it. Exactly same scenario with rent to rent, other than you're in direct contact with the landlord, and the difference between the letting agency is that they don't take on a 7-year, 3, 5, or 7-year commitment, whereas with rent to rent, you have to take on that commitment. Now, Neil, do you want to talk to us about this one? Have we still got
Yeah,
him
go
on
on,
board?
Ash.
Yeah,
So
you still with me?
here's the interesting thing. Yeah, got yeah. Yeah. Here's the really interesting thing. I mean, I really like statistics and psychology and finding patterns in everything. And what I found really interesting was I wanted to do an analysis on why so many people, not who had attended our course, I will add, were failing at rent to rent. And I just couldn't figure it out because I thought all the people that are coming on our course are doing really well. They're going off there, getting loads of properties and making money. So why are so many people failing? And this is what after I analysed everything and spoke to people, this is what I realised. And a lot of other trainers won't tell you this, but it's without the marketing and the negotiations experience, there's no point at all in doing rent to rent. There's no point. Even the experts and some property experts even come to me for training, negotiations training, and they're getting 2 at most out of every 10 deals. That's crazy. You know, whether it's rent to rent or sourcing or they're buying single lets, multi lets, developments, commercial, whatever it is, they're getting 2 at the most. And that's just ridiculous to me because I can't remember the last time I didn't get over 80% of the deals that I've gone for. So to me, it's really obvious why people are failing. They haven't got this experience. They haven't got the negotiations and the marketing experience. So that's why Arsh said to me, and this is a little bit of a surprise, you know, will you put on a sales training day as a second day? And at the time I said, no, not really, Arsh, because, you know, it's $3,500 for people to attend my 1-day sales training in the US. You know, if someone comes to Vegas or California and comes on the course, it's $3,500 because their companies pay for it. It's usually sales directors and people. So I said, you know, I'm not sure if I want to really do one and devalue my product and stuff. But after we had a good chat, you know, Ash was saying that, you know, so many people need this and we want to, you know, give something that others aren't giving. So that's why we've put it together now. It's not to ruin the surprise, but we've actually added a bonus day. So that is just bolted onto the main rent-to-rent day. It's a second day. It's pure negotiation. So if we go on to the next slide, I'll talk a little bit about it in a second. So there's a really simple way to negotiate. You've heard me talking about this as we've been going through the webinar, and I call it relationship selling. And when I developed this sales technique, I didn't know at the time, and it was really groundbreaking in the industry because I was being taught by all these trainers who were coming in, outside trainers, and it just didn't feel right to me. It was all old school tactics and aggressive tactics. And I thought it just doesn't feel right. So I went off and I created my own sales steps. And it's called the 12-step sales system. It's actually used now by over 10,000 sales reps around the world. And when I developed that, everybody just said, this just flows so well with my core, with who I am as a person. I don't need to pretend to be anyone else. I don't need to be either very cocky or very outgoing or anything. It's just really being true to myself and being able to speak with other people and negotiate with other people. And the reason there's the image of the steps there is because if you see in negotiations, a lot of people, they'll sort of go from step 1 to step 5, then they'll go back to step 2, up to step 10, and it doesn't go like that. There's a flow. There's a way you do a sales process. There are key steps, and if you follow them, by the end of it, the person will say yes to your deal. You can't get to the end without getting a yes. That's how the system's designed. So sometimes you might get, say, to step 10 or 11, and you realize that you can't really go forward with this at this stage. You know, you might have to go back another time. But that's the way the system's designed and developed. It's so that you can use this not just with the rent-to-rent, but anywhere in your business life as well, anywhere in your personal life. Even my dad used it recently to buy a new car, which I thought was really funny. So that was an interesting one. So next slide, Arsh. So again, statistics, around 25 to 40% of the people that come on our course have either got 2 or 3 rent-to-rent properties already, or they've done at least one other course. We had one guy that came on who'd done 4 other courses before he became successful, after he just stopped doing all the messing around and just followed what we showed him. So here's the question, why are all these people coming on our course then? So 3 things. Number 1, there's no upselling, there's nothing like that. Everything on the weekend, you get the lot. There's nothing held back. We're not going to, you know, oh, there's a coaching program. Oh, there's this day. Oh, there's nothing like that. It's all inclusive. You get everything you need. And a lot of people say it's, in a way, it's like having a full business given to you. So you're given your own business, or another guy, Sean, said it's like being given a franchise. So you get the exact formula. And again, it's the only course that I know of where the person training it is a sales trainer who trains other sales trainers. So I'm not going to be teaching you from here's what I think or here's what I read in a book. I'm going to be teaching you based on all my years of sales experience. And then lastly, we're going to show you about direct-to-vendor strategies, not letting agents, which almost never work. I don't care what anybody says about letting agents and how successful, it's not the right way to do it, because you can't change simple fundamental points with working with a letting agent. There will be costs. They're not just going to give you a property for nothing. There will be costs involved. They will make you jump through hoops. They will have their own agreements. Anyone that doesn't think this is going to happen is being naive. I don't want to do any of that. I don't want any of you to do any of that. What I want from you is to just follow the marketing plan, source a property directly from a landlord, shake their hand and get going. You don't want a middleman getting involved and putting words in the landlord's ear and saying, oh, what about this, what about that? Because they're just going to be trying to get more money from their cut. And like Arsh said, because he is a letting agent, he knows he'll lose control of that house. And if you do a fantastic job, which you will do, the letting agent's going to get scared. And I've had this first-hand experience where letting agents in Coventry got really weird about me. I don't know why, they just stopped talking to me, didn't want anything to do with me, because they saw how many properties I was taking on, the service I was offering. Because you will become a threat to other people when you follow this model. Next slide, Ash. Okay, so I'll do the first bit and then Ash, you can take over. So here's what we're going to be talking about. 29th and 30th of August, if you write the dates down, please. They are the next rent-to-rent course. So it's very quick approaching. It's in 2 weeks' time. And if you look at the screen there, there's just a few of the things you're going to learn. Identifying and dominating your gold mine. We're going to show you that in detail. It does take a few hours to go through that on the day. It's usually about 3 hours because it is a lot of detail. You need to get it right. We don't even let you go home that night until you've got your area right. All the marketing we talked about, how to get in front of the landlords, how to do the high-end finishes that I talked about, but for a very low cost. All those photos you saw, those were very high-end finish, low cost. And then the key thing is the legals. Most people get the legals wrong. Arsh and I have even stopped taking a lot of phone calls now. We just get them all the time from people who've done rent to rent, got it wrong, and been in a lot of trouble. So we'll show you how to do it all legally and properly. Next one, which we talked about, the step, is calculating the numbers. We want you to be very profitable. And then I'll show you my model of how I did the 5K in 5 months. That was a very simple model. That was with no experience, so you can do it even quicker. Next slide. So the 30th is the Sunday, so 29th is Saturday, 30th is the Sunday, and this is the negotiations training. So this is what people have said they absolutely loved. A lot of people have said it was the best course they've ever done in their life. And one guy was a course junkie. He said he'd done over 200 courses, and this was the best training he'd ever done, the negotiations day, because it's experiential. It's not based on theory and teaching you from a presentation, things like that. It's all based on the cone of learning, which you'll learn about on the day. But the cone of learning is a psychological model, and it shows how the human brain learns the most effectively. And this day is just purely around that. So you're going to be in the 70 to 90% echelon of learning ability. And once you learn this, you can't unlearn it. It's an interesting thing. Once you learn how to negotiate effectively, you can't unlearn it. And this will serve you for the rest of your life. Doesn't matter what you're buying or who's sat in front of you. You can always negotiate a better price. So it'll pay for itself 1,000 times over. You can learn about the buying patterns, the psychology, the 12-step sales system. I'm going to show you about the letters, the phone calls. It's scientific. It's not voodoo. It's not sort of theoretical. I'm going to show you all about objection handling, which is so important. You'll cut your learning curve down by 80% just by knowing the objections. Then it's all the live interactions. So you're going to be live interacting with another person. So you'll swap around, you'll keep role playing, and you're going to be basing it on the 12-step sales system, which is relationship selling. So they are just a couple of things you're going to be getting from the days. Next slide. Arsh, over to you.
Okay, so this is one of our courses that we ran earlier this year. I think it was February. I actually had Channel 4 following us as well. I'm not sure if anyone saw the program that I featured on earlier this year. Britain's Benefit Tenants have done really well. Is everyone still with me?
Arsh, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, can you still hear me?
Yeah, got you.
Okay, fantastic. Sorry. So this was a course that we ran earlier this year. We had Channel 4 following us, and I featured on a program called Britain's Benefit Tenants, and it's quite well received. As you see in the room there on the right hand side, we had well over 70 people in the room, as well as 40 people online at home. So learning doesn't just have to be in the room. You can actually learn from home, and I'm going to show you how. Now, on day 2, we actually had over 75 people in the room, and you can see it was quite a large event. We had double screens. It was quite a big event, and 50 people live streaming as well. Now,
because it was oversubscribed, that was why.
yes,
we didn't expect that. We thought we'd fill the 75, and then the last week we already had 10 on the waiting list. We had about 40 people register, and so that's why we had to stream all those 50 people. It was crazy, actually, that event.
So now the next one is that we're holding a course on the 29th and 30th of August, which is 3 weeks this weekend. And most of the seats have already been taken, but we've still got a few. And the one thing that we would say is that this is probably one of the last few events that we're running for 2015. So please take note if you are interested. We're going to be running a whole weekend. So that's a Saturday and Sunday where you'll be taught the whole A to Z of rent to rent. And that also includes 3 live negotiation sessions. So by the end of the weekend, you should come out of there feeling completely confident that you can approach any landlord in this country with this proposition and be able to come back with the goods, come back with the property, come back with a new lease of life. The fact that you're going to walk away knowing that you're going to start making money from that property. You'll also learn the 12-step sales process. And more importantly, you get to spend the whole weekend with me and Neil. How lucky are you? Now, here's some, it's always good to hear that people have done really well. And here's some of the people that have come on our courses and have left the course and gone off and done well. Now, if you look in the top left-hand corner, there's a lady called Deborah. And if you notice, she put, my first deal was a 36-bed HMO. Now, that 36-bed HMO has set her up for life well in excess of £5,000 cash flow a month. Now, what would you do with £5,000 a month? That was one deal that she did, and we've got more and more people. Here's Ebony, we've got Ben, we've got Michael, we've got Adam, we've got Justin, Susie. Susie's fantastic. She's now on her 6th property. Sally is doing extremely well. And we're in direct contact with these people almost like every day, because part of our package is that we have a dedicated Facebook group which is specifically for people who come and attend this course. So the learning does not just end in the room. You can go on Facebook in our group, providing that you've attended the course. You can ask a question, and me and Neil both log on every day to answer questions. More importantly, other people ask questions, and you can learn from their experience as well. Me and Neil still learn stuff from you guys as attendees as well. So it doesn't stop for us either, regardless of our experience. I would love to learn from you as much as I hope that you'd love to learn from me. Now, if you go, by all means, check out other rent-to-rent courses, whatever you want to do. But what you'll find is that as for value for money, nothing will touch what me and Neil are about to offer you tonight. So we're offering it you for $595 for 2 days for the whole weekend. Yeah, that's right. So that's equivalent to just short of £300 a day. But that's, when you consider, that's half the price of everyone else who only offer a 1-day course. But what we're doing tonight, and it's a webinar special, that if you book tonight, you can have $595 for you and a guest. You can bring a guest for free. So 2 people for the price of 1. And the offer only expires tonight. So we've got a lot of people already booked on the course. This is just to fill the rest of the seats. 2 people for the price of 1, $595 for 2 days. Or alternatively, you can book an individual day. So you may only want to do the Saturday, or you may only want to do the Sunday for $495 per day. So financially, it makes complete sense to book the 2 days. On top of that, we'll be looking at the systemization, how to create it into a business, how to create it so it's automated so that you don't have to do anything. So that the moment that you've got a property, you can just go to your power team, which we'll be talking about, how you can get your power team together and how to get the properties readily set up straight away. Now, the course is actually, unfortunately, held in the black country of the West Midlands. So it's going to be held in Dudley. And I say unfortunately because a lot of people come on our courses, travel from all over the country. And we did courses actually in London last time. And we had complaints from people up the north, from the north saying that they couldn't get down to the south. When we hold it in the north, we get complaints from people from the south. So we decided to hold it in the Midlands region. And we found a fantastic hotel. It's the De Vere Hotel, which I'll show you tonight, and it's $595 for 2 days. And you can book just by going on my website, which is arshellahi.com. Look at the events tab and look for the rent-to-rent Neil Ward weekend special, and you'll see that you can book on just for yourself for $595, or you can bring your business partner again for free. $595 for 2 people for the whole weekend.
And Arsh, got to say that no one will offer anything like that. A $3,500 day for 2 people alone, the sales negotiations training, and the rent-to-rent training. Usually people are charging £600, £700, £800 for the day. We're saying 2 days for under $600 for 2 people as a webinar special to fill the last seats. It's a crazy offer. And I'll let you talk about your keys to success as well.
Okay, so now I've been in property a hell of a long time, 15 years full time, but I could say that I've been property all my life. And what I've come up with is that I've come across near enough every position possible when it comes to property. So dealing with tenants, dealing with landlords, dealing with agents. And what I've done is that I've systemized it to a point where I've created pretty much a document for every scenario. So we've got the rent to rent documents, we've got the management documents, we've got the mind maps, we've got the guarantor documents, we've got the tenancy agreements. If you're dealing with benefits, we've got the spreadsheets, we've got the sales spreadsheets, which allow you to emulate my 100% rent collection record. And I'm going to be throwing this in for free. So for $595, you get 2 days worth of training. You get 2 days with me and Neil. You get my USB, which I call the key to success. I sell that every day off my website for £197. And more importantly, here's the beauty, is that after you've been on the course, if you book tonight, after you've been on the course, you get a 1 hour one-on-one session with Neil. So that if you thought that you didn't understand something and you want to just brush up on some questions or ask Neil some intimate questions, there's the time to do it in that one-on-one session, as well as getting access to the Facebook group that we mentioned. And as well as attending the course, you'll be eligible to attend the special Rent to Rent Mastermind Day on the 3rd of October, where you get to meet the other Rent to Rent stars, take your business from being good profits to huge profits. Remember what we talked about on...
Arsh, can I just mention the mastermind there a second?
Yeah,
We'll go
sure.
back one. This basically came about from a lot of people who were constantly saying about they wanted to take their rent-to-rent business further. So some of our students have done really well, but they wanted to take it even further still. They wanted to look at my systems in greater detail. They wanted me to bring some of my staff along for the day. They wanted to look at, so there was so much advanced stuff that there's no way we can possibly pack it into those 2 days. And the advanced stuff is more a case of when you've done some basic rent to rent, you've got a couple under your belt, then you want to take it to the next level. So what I did was I just sort of said to the group, when would be a good time to do it, for us to do a 1 day mastermind. And we're actually going to do that on the 3rd of October. So if you're looking at coming along for the rent to rent, please put that down in your diary. It's very low cost for the day. It's basically just to cover the costs of the hotel and the meals and the rental and the equipment and materials and stuff. But you'll actually meet the other stars, the rent to rent stars from our group. So you can mastermind with them and just take your business from good profits to absolutely huge profits. So it's a very, very unique opportunity. We've never done one before. It's the first one we're going to do, and we'll probably put one together every year. So if you are able to come on this course now, I would definitely book yourself on that course if you can sort of get to a good standard quick enough. So yeah, thanks for that.
Okay, so we're going to keep moving on because I appreciate that we're running slightly over time. So remember we talked about return on investment. Now, all you need is one deal to get you return on your investment. So 100% return on investment in month 1 from the house, 1200% return on investment in year 1. Remember, you could very easily, without knowledge, you're not going to be able to do any of this, and it's without the right knowledge that you're going to be able to do it. So it's something really to take into consideration, and it's going to be a great investment for you. Now, someone's just said to me, Arsh, I can't seem to see the details on your website, so I'm going to give you a quick idea. So you're on my website, arshellahi.com, and you'll come across that homepage. You go to the events page, you scroll down to the Neil Ward weekend special offer, and all you do is on the page there, why not take advantage of the weekend special offer? Look on the right hand side and it says 595 add to cart, or if you want to bring a business partner for free, you add to cart. You also are able to book your hotel rooms for the Friday or Saturday night on that page as well. So again, go to the events page, look for the Neil Ward weekend special offer, and it is all there. Hopefully that's helped anyone that was looking. So again, it's 2 days, 29th and 30th of August, and you get so much. You get 2 days. You get rent-to-rent training, sales training, management agreements, all the legal documentation, the key to success. You get your meals included during the day. You get the membership to the secret group, the rent-to-rent secret group. You get one-on-one call with Neil, as well as lifetime support. For me, it's a no-brainer. But again, if I appreciate that 595 may be a large commitment for some. If you can't pay all in one go, what we will allow you to do, because we've got 3 weekends up until the course, you can pay 3 payments of £199 or 2 payments of £200 and one of £195. Completely up to you. And again, the website accepts it. Right, okay. So the course is being held at the De Vere Village Spa Hotel in Dudley. And here's some of the rooms that have been discounted to £75 a night, and you get to use the
I mean, this
spa.
is beautiful. This is a beautiful, beautiful hotel. I've just got to add, we absolutely love going there. You've got all this is inclusive. We've negotiated a discount on rooms. There's a spa, there's a pool, there's jacuzzis and steam rooms, beautiful restaurants where we include your meals and stuff. It's the rooms are beautiful. It's such an amazing hotel to stay at. It really is.
Okay. Um, so the only question that we've got left asked to do is that, remember we talked at the start of the presentation, do you want to be one of the 5% of the people who become wealthy and who set themselves free, or do you want to be part of the other group, the 95%? We've shown you today almost like a bite size as to how you can do and what you can do. Now the rest is completely up to you. I didn't know that rhymes, but it does. And more importantly, me and Neil are both going to give you our personal contact numbers, as well as our Facebook, Twitters, LinkedIn profiles. Feel free to get in contact with us. Why not come and have a chat with us? But more importantly, why not come and join us? We've done extremely well from this strategy. We've all got our buy-to-lets, and regardless of how much money you got in the bank, that money will soon dry up when you're buying properties with deposits. When you're using smaller chunks of money to refurb the properties, the £2,000 as opposed to £25,000, just imagine you had £25,000 in the bank. Now, on a £100,000 purchase, that would buy you one property. But if you've got 25 grand in the bank, that could get you 12 rent-to-rent properties, which on average, if they all cash flowed, let's say £500, that would get you £6 grand a month. That's on the very worst case scenario of it cash flowing £500 a month. So that's just something to give you an idea.
Arsh,
So,
do you want to just go back to the booking tab so people have got that?
yeah, so just let's just have a quick look where it is. Yeah.
Okay, that's great.
So yeah, now we've got a few questions that we're going to finish up on. So if you are any questions, now's your time. So someone asked, what about the pitfalls? Now, Caroline, it's a great question because, like I said, every strategy will have a pitfall. Now, the one thing that you've got to remember with rent to rent, come rain, sleet or shine, you've got to pay that landlord, because that's your commitment to them. The only reason they're offering you their property is because you're trading your time for their convenience. Now, the one thing that you're also going to be promising them is that you're going to be paying them month in, month out, regardless of whether your property is occupied or not. So from your point of view, the risk is you've got to make sure that you've got the skills and the ability to rent that property come rain, sleet or shine. But we'll be showing you exactly how to do that. Now, renting property is like child's play. Once you know how to do it, it's like riding a bike. Once you know how to do it, you'll never forget it. All you got to do is be able to put the property in the right place in the eyes of the people who are looking, and put it in the right position, and you'll never have an empty room. Why do you think I've got a high 98% occupancy rate? Now, I looked at my portfolio this morning. I think we've got 4 rooms empty out of 500. So that's less than 1%. And that all comes down to the key as to how I market our properties and how we make it work extremely well. So someone's just asked, let's have a quick look. Do you need a license for a HMO? Now, licenses, for those that don't know, HMO licenses are only required for those that are 5 or more people on 3 or more floors. So you could have 20 people on 2 floors and it's not required. But if you've got 5 people on 3 floors or more, yes, a HMO license is required. So you may want to decide whether that's the property that you want to take on. For every license that you acquire, it's going to cost you money, which is going to eat into your cash flow. Going through. Now, someone's asked a question. If a house is converted into 7 to 8 rooms internally without major changes, are there any problems? My first response to that would be, has the property got planning permission? Because anything in excess of 6 rooms requires planning permission. It will also, depending on how many floors, require licensing. So you've got to ask those kind of questions before you take the property on to make sure that you're fully covered. Another question, if you have both your company and landlord's names on the AST, who does your tenant turn to if there are problems? Remember, the landlord is giving you this property so that he doesn't have to deal with any of the ongoing concerns. So the tenants will be your day-to-day responsibility. Or if you decide to employ a letting agent, like myself, hint, 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 then the direct contact will be with me. If there's any issues, then I will contact you. But your agreement with the landlord is that you're taking on all the responsibilities. Right. Now, Gaurav has asked, if you find the property on Rightmove, how can you locate the landlord's details? Now, we spoke about it in brief detail tonight, and it's quite a long and in-depth situation where you can find landlords off land registry. Anyone can do that, and it costs you £3. But there's other intricate details that you may need to need, and that could be quite easy. I could very easily talk an hour or even 2 hours on that topic alone. Let's just have a quick look. Now, Annette has asked a question. How do you get direct to landlords, please? Remember, there's a number of ways. You could have a team of tradespeople. You could start writing letters. You could do land registry. You could be searching for registers up and down the country. Remember, with marketing, there's no right or wrong way to do marketing. But what you have to do is you have to make sure that you cover all bases. And that's the key to marketing. Yes.
I was going to say, I mean, we're going to cover all of that on the training day. We spend a long time talking about that, so you'll get all of that when you come on the training days. I think is the best way to describe that, because it would take hours to explain how to do direct to vendor marketing tonight.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so Annette has put that we've just paid for one, but did not give us the option to bring someone for free. 2 of us are coming, so you can please confirm. Okay, Annette, if you'd like to take my contact details, and then what I will do is give me a call tomorrow, and I'll make sure that we've got everything for you. But on the website, it does say that there's a link that you can bring a partner for free, and in the special comments box, you can actually put your details, your partner's details.
Great.
Okay, so
was there any questions for me there, Arsh?
there probably were, but I've just integrated it for both, if that's okay. I'm just conscious of time. So one last question that you can actually answer, Neil. Do you have any property sourcing courses you teach?
Oh yeah, we do actually. I'm not sure when we've got the next one on actually, Arsh. I don't know if you've got dates, but the deal sourcing.
They're actually listed on my website.
Okay, yeah. Now they're very small. They're not like the rent to rent. The deal sourcing course is quite small and intricate. It's sort of no more than 20 people. It's usually about 15 people, because it's a different market. It's a different style of learning. And it's a different mindset as well. where you can earn a lot of money very quickly. Again, deal sourcing. The best thing I find, and we always teach it like a curriculum, in that we teach rent to rent, sales and negotiations, deal sourcing, just to add on top of your knowledge, because you can sell deals for thousands of pounds that you might not want to do yourself. And then step 4 is the business day. So it's about cementing everything together so that you're not just one of these people that hands out their cards at networking events and says they're property experts when really they're not making money through property. You'll become one of those people who are making 6 figures a year. I don't think any of my property companies make less than 6 figures a year. So you can really get into that level. And most of you will know this, so I don't want to teach you the basics, but the way you get yourself to a level such as where Arsh and I are is by actually spending time with Arsh and I. That's how it's the same in any marketplace. When I wanted to become a really good professional speaker, I didn't just learn from someone who was a good speaker. I paid for the best speaker I could find to train me. And that's the way you advance. I was talking about this with my wife recently, actually, because she was saying, "Oh, you're paying all this money for this course, tens of thousands of, training." And I said, "Yeah, but how else am I going to get to the next level up without spending the money and getting that mentorship?" I've been doing this for a long time now. I don't know any other way to raise yourself up without doing that, without getting mentorship and training from someone that's where you want to be. She's still there.
Yeah, I'm still here. That's completely true, Neil. I completely agree with that. But yeah, I suppose in that respect, I think we've covered pretty much all the questions now, Neil. The next deal sorting course is actually on the 19th and 20th of September.
Okay.
And those details are actually on my website as well, I think. So yeah, if that's of interest, by all means, Bara, get in contact with us. That's great. But on that note, I'd like to thank you all very much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure answering your questions and being in your company this evening. You've asked some great questions, and I'm hoping that at some point in the future we're going to be able to either work together or actually do some stuff together, because that's what really does it for me. The reason why I'm in this business is we like helping people. We like listening to some of the obstacles that you've come across, but more importantly, how we can help you overcome some of the hurdles. So if you think that we can, or if you've heard something tonight that you think, you know what, these guys know something, why not get in contact with us? Why not have a chat with us? And then, if there's something that we could do, fantastic. Worst case scenario, we've just had to chat.
Yeah, definitely. Just to add on that as well. And what we always find is there's a lot of people sat online who want to do this. You have that fear and you have that anxiety. Or what if I make a mistake? I don't know if it's the right thing. Thing is that's the same in anything in life. If you look at other areas of your life, just the same as I do regularly, you'll always see that you've missed opportunities. You look back and think, oh, I should have done that and I would be a lot further now. Because if you don't change what you're currently doing right now, wherever you are is where you're going to end up. Nothing's really going to change. Life won't get much better until you start taking those action steps and getting on the journey. Yes, training and things does cost money. It's not free, but I mean, you don't get much lower than less than £300 a day. If you bring a partner, it's less than £150 a day. I mean, you can't get lower than that training from someone like Arsh and I, the level that we're at now. And if you want to get to where we are, we will actually help you to get there. We'll support you all the way. So if it's finances as well, or if it's the mindset, we'll help you. If it's the finances, we'll help you. Just give Arsh a call tomorrow. And if maybe you can't afford the full amount right now, but you want to do some sort of a payment plan or something similar, just give Arsh a call, and he'll work something out with you. We're here to help you. So on that note, I just want to say thank you. It's been a really great webinar. Really enjoyed the questions as well. So thank you so much for spending your time with us this evening.
Brilliant. On that note, I'd like to thank you all very much for your time. Just very quickly, I think Gina's just said that she's struggling to see where she books on. So just very quickly, Gina, I apologise that you go to the events page, you go to the Neil Ward Weekend Special offer page, which should hopefully load. And I'll tell you, let's just move this over here. And all it does is you go on the far right hand corner. If for you alone, you can press that button, add to cart, or if you want to bring a business partner, you press add to cart there. If you want to book your hotels, you press your add to cart there. And it really is as simple as that. If you are having problems, by all means, give me a call. Again, you've got my number on the slides there, and hopefully, let's see what we can do. I'd like to thank you all very, very much for your time, and I hope you really enjoyed it. I hope you've really taken something away from it. If there's anything that you need, you know where we are. Have a lovely evening.